everyone, welcome to another episode of the Immortality Podcast. I'm Jake, again here with Josh.
Hello.
Today I brought a second Flush Darjeeling from India. So, as always, I'm going to kind of wake up the tea vessels with a little hot splash of hot water. Heat up the cups, and then pour a few grams. I'm obviously eyeballing, but it should be 6 to 8 grams about in that size of Gaiwan, 100 milliliters. So yeah, second flush Darjeeling. Second flush means it was harvested in the summer, so after the spring rains, but before the monsoon rains later in the year. So why don't you give that a smell, the dry hot smell?
Yeah, we've tried first flush Darjeelings, which had a more white and like oolong feel, but this definitely is like a black tea.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we've done a couple of first flush Darjeelings on the podcast, but we haven't done a second flush yet. So second flushes, Darjeeling tea is like harvested in 3 seasonal flushes. There's first flush, the spring harvest, second flush, the summer harvest, what we're drinking now, and then there's also a third in the fall. I'm not going to rinse this. It's basically open enough already. It's not really like an oolong or anything. It doesn't need to be opened, or it's not old, so it doesn't need to be cleaned. It was harvested just a couple months ago from the time of recording. So yeah. Nice big malty aroma.
Oh yeah.
That is a real black tea.
There's even like a hint of some fruit, but not strong. But
sure. Yeah, Darjeelings are kind of known for their muscatel notes, or like kind of like winey, grapey notes. It's like a wine term. Big in the body, lots of sweetness. Definitely some kind of like dark grape, orange rind.
Orange rind.
Yeah. Maybe like a clove quality to it.
It's like an orange rind and a clove had a baby, and the baby was like very calm and very mellow and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, so Darjeeling, second flush Darjeelings, right, are not usually consumed gung fu style, right?
We are breaking the law and the tea cultures and customs on the podcast.
No, I would say we're establishing new laws.
We are evolving the tea strategies.
Yeah, so most second flush Darjeeling is broken, not whole leaf, and it's exported sort of in that form and as like small fannings or like just fractured leaves. Most of the time when you have a tea bag in the U.S., if it's like a Darjeeling, it'll be like a second flush or a third flush, some kind of like crushed up black tea. That's like the commodity grade Darjeeling anyway. So this one, like the others, we had sort of at our request, the farmer leave closer to whole leaf. Of course, whole leaf's gonna work much better in a Gaiwan, just due to like it being easier to filter, obviously, but also decreasing the surface area gives you a more gradual extraction across multiple steeps. We actually get to like experience some of the complexity of this tea instead of just blasting it all at once and then guzzling it down with milk or however else you would like to take it.
So when they chop up the tea leaves, which is how most people experience the Darjeeling teas, and then they put it in a bag, that's just basically to make it easier to steep and quicker to release all of its flavors.
Easier, quicker, yeah, stronger. Very, very, very American. Or very Western, I should say.
Very British.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Actually, though, yeah. Of course, we've talked a little bit about the history of Darjeeling. Definitely a big legacy of British colonialism. Tea was basically stolen from China and planted in gardens in Darjeeling and Assam by the British so they didn't have to deal with China anymore.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The British actually sent spies in and stole tea bushes and like tea processing secrets from China and took it out and started planting small plants in Darjeeling and Assam, like territories they controlled in India at the time.
I really like black tea this way because normally there's something too strong about black tea when it's really small and like the more traditional way people see tea within tea bags versus a whole leaf. But you can really, it mellows the flavor out.
That last steep was like it was very round, spice forward. And you actually do taste the complexity, right? Like like the orange, the clove, the grape, the malt.
I'm starting to get more malt now.
Yeah.
But you're right about that. You really can taste the complexity more versus that stereotypical Lipton tea taste.
Yeah, and you absolutely could like steep this in a pot. You can even crush it if you wanted to. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But my preference, the way I engage with tea, is in this way where I really want to experience the plant and like listen to the plant.
What else do you think people need to know about Darjeeling in order to really help understand this tea's flavor and complexity?
Yeah, so the first flushes, and we've talked about first flush. We've had first flush on before. First flush is not you couldn't really call it a black tea. I mean, it gets sold as black sometimes because that's kind of like all Westerners have understood for a long time is like black, maybe green. In like the Chinese system, the first flush would like probably technically be an oolong because of its oxidation level would be kind of in the middle, but it's not really processed with like oolong techniques at all either, so it's hard to classify on that spectrum. But the first flush is it's greener, it's more floral, it's lighter. You would brew like a yellow soup as opposed to an orange soup. But the second flush, it's hotter weather by June in the mountains of India. What that does is it causes a little more withering on the leaves, more oxidation. As they're sitting and drying, they're also like transforming into black tea. Of course, oxidation is like just the process in tea and in other plants that like causes like withering, like the browning of leaves in autumn, like the browning on an apple when you bite into it, then leave it out. That's oxidation. What it does for tea is, it takes away those greener flavors. So green tea is unoxidized. It tastes like grass or like flowers. This black tea is much more oxidized. It tastes like malt. It tastes like fruit. It tastes like spice.
I'm starting to taste a cinnamon note.
Yeah.
The spice is starting to come out now, which is
this one's really nice. It's a very comforting tea, very warming. So I would guess we didn't rinse this. So this will be our fourth steep. I'm guessing it's gonna give up relatively soon, maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 good steeps. I mean, for a Gaiwan, that's pretty good. That's a good amount of tea.
This definitely, I can tell, has more caffeine. Just slightly.
Think so?
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a get up and go. It would be good for a morning session, I think, specifically. A little start of the day gung fu, if that's what you're into.
How would you suggest this one for all the listeners out there and the tea nerds?
Yeah, so this one's like somewhat unique. It's a really good steeping, by the way. Some kind of extra sweet note came out.
Yep.
So interesting. I wonder what that is. This one, I would say, this one is definitely unique tea. If you're a serious tea drinker, like a tea nerd, you have a gung fu set, yada yada. You're listening to a tea podcast. It's good if you're like looking for something a little different. Because it doesn't like taste quite like Chinese black tea. Like it has its own like expression of terroir. It has its own like unique cultural history that like the processing is very different than anything that happens in China.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're just kind of a traditional tea drinker, Earl Grey, a morning breakfast blend, that kind of traditional Western European style of prepared black teas, I think you'll like this one, because you can drink it however you normally drink it with cream and sugar. But I think alone it's just really complex, and just the fact that I'm tasting cinnamon is a surprise.
Yeah, I think you're right. It could be a good like step up for someone who is maybe only exposed to breakfast teas but knows they like the flavors present in black teas. If you're like looking for maybe like a little more from your cup, even if you're not drinking it gung fu style, I think you're gonna get a lot of like interesting notes still.
It just has a bigger spectrum of flavor than your Earl Grey. It's like there's that note in there, but then there's all this other stuff, like with the cloves.
Yeah.
The spice.
So I think I'm starting our fifth steep right now.
Okay.
The last steep was really enjoyable. I think the fourth was strangely the best on that. And that's the thing about drinking tea gung fu style. Sometimes you get surprised that way. Sometimes there's some kind of other expression that hides in the background, and you don't arrive at until like you've steeped through it a little. Which is the nice thing about gung fu in general. It's like you're experiencing this beverage layer by layer.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. It's kind of what makes it nice to do with friends or just with yourself, because the drink changes every cup, and then you kind of get to experience this plant that was living at one time, and now it's been prepared for you to kind of experience each different flavor as that leaf becomes rehydrated, so to speak. Oh, this one is dark.
Yeah, well, I steeped it a little bit longer, but I think it's
Nice.
still has a lot of life in it. Let's see. Yeah, that sweet note's still there. The one from the fourth steeping is still here.
Yep.
How would we describe that? Like a, I think it's kind of like a stone fruit sweetness, like a plum sweetness or a peach sweetness, right?
I'm just getting a nice strong cinnamon middle note. I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah, there's good activity on the palate. Still has pretty good body on the fifth steep. Some teas will kind of give up and like just have a more watery body by this point. But this is still good. It still feels like thick, oily, like sensation.
I'm really impressed with that. And normally I stay away from black teas.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think because I had an Earl Grey one time and it was just too strong and it was not good and it made my stomach feel weird.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is that about black teas is they're kind of like in the West at least like among the tea community like a low class tea, right? It's like the tea that everyone drinks. It's like what's in your grandmother's cabinet. At home, it's what's on the store. It's what's on the shelves at the grocery store. But there's nothing wrong with black tea. It's just different than like a green or oolong. And in China, black tea is kind of on the rise. Honestly, historically, China consumed like almost entirely like 80-90% green tea with like some spattering of like oolong and pu'er and white in there. But recently, China has been very into experimental black teas and like making like black teas from like Wu Yi varietals and like pu'er varietals.
Those are amazing.
Yeah.
The Chinese black teas, I kind of consider them something like not a black tea, but they are.
But those are new for the most part,
Yeah.
Like those are not like historically what people in China have like mostly drinking.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then the technology for processing has evolved to where it's like because the black orchid I had was really good. Like there was
black orchid's fantastic. That's a high aroma. That's actually a black version of the one we drank on the last episode.
Okay.
It's a black Milan Shan.
Okay. I mean that one was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely starting to explore the black Chinese teas because they do something.
And that's kind of what I was getting at the beginning. Like tea is not like a set thing. It's a constantly evolving tradition. Like people are continually trying new things and like developing new expressions of tea and new ways to drink it. Just like this, it's we're like drinking a whole leaf black Darjeeling Gong Fu style right now, and like enjoying the hell out of it. Like this is not something common like anywhere in the world.
So this is a pretty rare tea just to get a Darjeeling that's still whole leaf. The leaves are beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
They're very colorful. You can see the bits of green, and then as they oxidize into their full brown, but it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's almost like tea camouflage.
Let me see.
It looks like a great wallpaper.
Yeah, so there's some like, you can see nice big leaves in this. The oxidation is, pretty even. Some are a little brighter than others. They're mostly this like sort of like off green withered brown like autumn leaves, as they should be. These are nice and big. Some stems in the blend. I what?
Ooh, that is nice.
Yeah.
That stem. That's why it's calm, because it's got stem in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
that has like that gives teas like roundness and sweetness generally.
Really?
More stems in the blend. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you have a lot of these second flush Darjeelings on the shop, or where can people find this kind of rare black tea from India?
Yeah, so again, this tea and others like it you can find online at tridentcafe.com/teas or at our shop on Pearl Street. This is our first second flush Darjeeling that we imported this year. Just about maybe a month ago, 2 weeks to a month ago, we got it in. It's a lower elevation Darjeeling. It's from Rohini Tea Estate, so low lying. And we will be getting shortly a high elevation second flush Darjeeling as well. It was honestly a little bit of a rough year for Darjeeling in general, 2021 anyway. There was a lot of rain, so tea bushes prefer sort of at least for the flavor of tea. Tea bushes prefer a somewhat lower amount of rainfall that cuts back on the amount of moisture in the leaves. But there was a lot of rain this year, so tea bushes weren't growing well. We had to dig through a lot of samples to find lots that were acceptable to us. Probably for the next one, we tasted about 20 different lots before finding something that we liked.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Whereas normally, how many would you have to go through before you found a good one?
Well, maybe half that. I mean, still a lot probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a particularly rough year for Darjeeling, everywhere.
How long have you had the relationship with the Rohini Estate? Because I'm noticing there's a lot of good stuff coming from that.
I think with this one goes back 3, 4, or 5 years, something like that. We've been buying from them. It was the past few years. They're really good. They're really good. They work with us on like the style leaf that we like. We'll save special harvest for us, like the one we drank last, which was the Old Bush. That one we bought almost all of, I believe.
The Heritage Moonlight.
The Heritage Moonlight, yeah.
Yeah, I just had some of that yesterday. It was great.
I think it's aging well too.
It was nice.
Yeah, I had it not too long ago also, and I feel like it improved. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us once again. Again, I'm Jake here with Josh. I hope you enjoyed your time at the table with us. We will see you next time.
Enjoy your tea.